else at play. Joining me, political reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Greg Bluestein, and Deputy Director of the Democracy Program at the Brennan Center for Justice, Myrna Pérez. Guys, welcome so much.
Thank you.
First, I do want to start in talking about what exactly is going on down there and what exactly, why it's happening right now. Greg, in your reporting, why is this coming up less than 3 months before the election?
Yeah, this is a predominantly African-American county in southwest Georgia with about 7,000 voters. All 9 of these polling places were open in the May primary and the July runoff. But just this past week, there were 2 what they call courtesy meetings from the county to talk about closing 7 of these 9 locations. They say it's a cost-cutting move, and because those 7 other locations that are on the chopping block are not accessible to people with disabilities. So that's their reasoning for trying to close these polling places down.
And this is a majority black county. You have Stacey Abrams running against Casey Cagle for governor. Right now she's 2
Brian
points.
Kemp.
I'm sorry, Brian Kemp, sorry. Right now she's 2 points down from Brian in the polling. Is there concern that closing these sites, Greg, is going to negatively affect Stacey Abrams?
Yeah, well, Stacey Abrams' campaign is built on trying to energize voters, many of the minorities who rarely cast ballots in these sort of midterm elections. So, you know, although this is not a huge number of voters, there's only about 7,000 voters and residents in the county at large, she's saying that this exemplifies what Republican rule in Georgia has done to suppress the vote. In her words, Brian Kemp says that he's done everything he can to try to make the vote accessible, and that he's also coming out against the closure of these polling sites.
Isn't that cut and dry, Myrna, to say that this is voter suppression?
Well, I think there are 2 problems colliding and compounding each other. One is the recent history in Georgia of anti-voter activity. We have the strict photo ID law. We have the technical law rejecting registration applications if certain information isn't matching perfectly. And then we have an increased amount of purges. We have that alongside a dearth of resources being allocated to run our elections. We have too many Americans who don't have appropriate access to polling locations or enough voting machines or enough poll workers. And both of those instances tend to hit certain segments of the population hardest. They hit brown, black, and poor communities. And in this instance, whatever problems that exist on the ground about the polling places not being sufficient are human created, and with enough resources and enough planning and enough care and enough attention can be avoided.
I'm just confused. There's not enough polling places. It's not sufficient. Why close 2/3 of them down? Why not open another polling place that is accessible to folks with disabilities? Doesn't that seem to be an easier solution that would help everybody rather than help one class of people and hurt another class of people?
There are a lot of solutions that are available in this, and they can be dealt with by advanced planning. They can be dealt with by having an audit to make sure that the folks that are going to be impacted have other means and other access. And we as a country can decide that we want to better resource our elections. We're the best democracy in the world. We're going to have to pay for it. And if we want to avoid problems that we've seen in the past, like long lines, like voters getting frustrated, like being unclear about what the outcome is on Election Day, we need to make sure that our elections are being run smoothly.
Greg, the voters of this county, in a conversation I had with Myrna a moment ago, voted for this. They voted to make this change. Does that kind of undercut the argument that the ACLU is making that this is voter suppression? Do the voters in that county fully realize what they voted for? Can you make an argument that the voters in that county are trying to suppress the vote? It all seems very, it all seems much more complicated than it may look at first glance.
Well, yeah, the vote is actually this week, so it's not final yet. The proposal has been sort of circulating through the county, and they've long said this is sort of a that could be cemented in stone later on this week. But the county residents are very upset. Some of them are threatening legal action. Others are saying, look, I've got carpentry skills. I've got engineering and electrical skills. I can help shore up some of these sites that might not be ADA accessible and improve them so that they can be polling sites.
And the message that I would like to communicate is that this needs to be part of long-term election planning. We know when elections happen. We know what they take. We know what's required. We know where people live. And for this reason, with enough planning and enough resources, we can avoid some of these issues.
There's a census.